Now, welcome to another News from Naboo with Thor's Lightning Takes. And let's once again get right to the news.
We're going to lead off kind of following up on our story from a couple days ago about Patty Jenkins. How rumor has it that she was difficult to work with and kind of walked out of doing Wonder Woman because she didn't want to change the script that she had or her vision for the character's arc and where it was going. She has now kind of rebutted that. She posted on Instagram kind of saying that wasn't what happened, that she chose to leave it in a more dignified manner in that she is still doing Rogue Squadron, that she's kind of still attached to the project and that it's still going forward, that Lucasfilm, when she said, hey, I'm really concentrating on Wonder Woman right now because of the release schedule, so I don't think I can do Rogue Squadron, that Lucasfilm said, no, whenever you're done, come back. I mean, it's a Rian Johnson story, isn't it? I mean, he's still writing a Star Wars trilogy. She's going to be working on Rogue Squadron forever. What do you think?
I think they need to hire people that are actually going to make their movies when they say and immediately, more or less, right?
It's weird. It's like you take a job, but you already have a job, so you're like, I'll come to your job
you
whenever
eventually.
I want to finish this job. You don't do that. I don't interview for a job, get accepted at a job, and go, okay, just hold this position. As soon as I don't want to do that job anymore or something bad happens, I have a job here because you hired me. That's not how this works.
Yeah, I made a video a while back over on my channel talking about how Star Wars has kind of become this second-class franchise where people, like, take the job and are like, yeah, I'll get to you. I'll get to you eventually. But I got this other thing for...
Why do they have these contracts that say, are you allowed to get to us whenever?
Virtually everyone they seem to hire does this. I mean, we don't know what is going on behind the scenes with Rian Johnson. I tend to believe they don't want him back just to avoid controversy, but he's kind of been on the line for 5 years, right? We've had Kevin Feige kind of on the line and doing other things. We've had Taika Waititi kind of on the line, yet doing other things. We have Patty Jenkins kind of on the line, doing other things.
I understand if they're finishing up with a project, they're like, you're next.
Yeah.
But that doesn't
like,
feel like the case. You're next, and it's been 5 years.
I'm going to do 2 or 3 other things first, which are going to take a couple of years, and then I'll get back to you.
Yeah, go figure, right?
And as for what Patty kind of going with just what she talks about here and says, I mean, of course she's going to kind of defend herself. I'm not saying that's wrong or bad. Everybody's going to defend themselves.
She doesn't want everyone to think she's difficult to work with.
Yeah, everybody has a right to defend themselves when they've publicly kind of been called out like that. I'm absolutely fine with that. What's the truth? Who knows? You're never going to know.
No, not unless you were in that room with them recording it, honestly, because no one will believe you.
Yeah, I find it very skeptical that she's still... I mean, she kind of says she's working on Rogue One, yet is not sure if it's ever going to get made.
Rogue Squadron?
Did I say Rogue One? Rogue Squadron. I guess. I mean, can't we just move on? Can we just say, you know what, we've decided it's not going to happen, and let's move on? That's what Star Wars really needs. It feels like we're just kind of stuck in this rut with the films of, like, waiting for something to be announced or to happen finally. It's been 3 years since The Rise of Skywalker, and we don't know what the next film is.
Nope. Let's move on to the next thing. We'll move on as well.
Yeah.
Moving on. We're going to talk about Jedi Survivor. Cameron Monaghan. He's done some interviews, and he's calling it like some... I'll use his words.
Okay.
This is going to be an emotional roller coaster for people. I think that you'd have to be made of stone for it to not hit you in the heart. That usually means death. I'm sorry, but that's usually what that means.
You'd have to be dead not to appreciate this story.
So that you can feel the crippling despair of the character.
It looks like it's going to be, just from the trailer and seeing that we're missing some of our characters, the Mantis seems to be in, a state of disrepair or disarray, and he's crashing on planets. He seems to be alone. Yeah. I'm kind of excited. I'm excited to read the book and then to get into the game and see what this story is all about. First game was really good.
He kind of points out that the crew of the Mantis are really starting to feel the pressure 5 years from the events of Fallen Order, following the events of the upcoming novel Battle Scars. He says, you really have a dire situation that we find Callan at the beginning of the game, where he is searching for ways to rebel that are becoming increasingly difficult and perhaps even hopeless. But we have a character that was given meaning and a goal by this resistance, and he was given this hope, and that hope is hard to extinguish. But what happens when you have hope in a situation that becomes increasingly hopeless? Different people have different ideas about what is the best way to resist.
We've seen that in Andor, haven't we? We've seen that in a lot of places, to be honest with you.
Because everyone does have their own opinions and thoughts on how to get things done, and when you run into people doing a lot of different things, you are challenged.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see whatever becomes of Cal Kestis, what his ultimate, end story looks like. Not saying we have to rush there or he needs to die immediately, but we do know he's probably not going to be around original trilogy time period. We think his story would have to end pretty badly, right? At some point?
I think so. I mean, we even saw in the trailer he and Seer are not getting along.
Yeah, it seems like they've been apart for a while.
Interestingly, he says, Seer and Cal have an interesting dynamic, where she's not his formal master, but she is his mentor. And frankly, they have different ideas on how to deal with imperialism in the Empire. In the first game, it was about finding family, and what it means to create a family. With this story, a lot is to do with what happens when there's stress on the family. That what we end up finding in the story is really complicated and exciting development to how we want to approach the character. And I think it's not only exciting, but also emotional and beautiful and treats its audience with a level of respect that I think people are really going to appreciate.
Let's hope so.
Let's hope so indeed. I mean, we want a good story. We want a complex story. We want our characters to feel like real people. That is how you respect the player, respect the game.
Yeah, you let them get into the story.
Mm-hmm. He also spoke about the gameplay trailer itself. He said, I think it's a great introduction to the scope and size of the new game. This game is really ambitious in how much it's furthering and progressing not only the gameplay elements of Jedi Fallen Order, but enhancing the story and characters as well. We're starting to see hints as to where that's going to branch off and what options you're going to be given as a player. As much as the trailer does reveal some really cool and exciting things, it doesn't give away the whole gist of what we're doing for this one. I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised by just how this game progresses and where it goes as you get deeper into it.
Curious.
I know, I'm excited because if he's saying that trailer scratched the surface, we could be looking at some crazy skill trees.
Yeah, I wonder if he means
options.
If he means like gameplay, or he means like literally in the story where we're going, like locations and planets and things, or both. He seems to imply both.
He is implying both, and I really like that. I liked it a lot. He also kind of talked about who Bode is.
Okay.
Bode. Thanks, Bode. Part of the job, Kestis. Yes, so we have this new character, Bode Akuna. He's a new ally to Cal, and they have a really great dynamic. They're like brothers in arms who have similar trajectories in their life and have, at this point, made some different decisions along the way. But I think they have a mutual respect and understanding for each other. Bode has some pretty show-stopping scenes, and I can't wait for people to see what he does.
Yeah, it seems like it's kind of like a co-op thing between those two, where they kind of team up and do, power moves together, if you will, that you fill your meter and hit the button and your friend comes in and does something cool for you. I'm hoping that could also be Marin. I think that's my biggest disappointment so far, is if you go back to even my Fallen Order review and talking about the sequel that was years away, I was hoping to see maybe playable Marin or like some kind of co-op with her. It would have been really, really cool. And I know these games really don't kind of focus on couch co-op anymore. That's kind of a past thing, unfortunately, but it would have been so cool to be able to do some sort of couch co-op or online co-op with Marin and Cal and do missions or something. I don't know.
Online co-op sells more consoles and more games.
Yeah.
Sad, but true.
It's true.
All right, here's what he says about what you should know about the character at the start. What's important to know contextually is not just about Cal, but about the world around him, which is the Empire has grown stronger. There are very few footholds of resistance left, and the situation is increasingly more desperate and dark. So we're putting Cal into circumstances that are challenging to the point of even being hopeless, trying to find that fight and how you're supposed to fight within a seemingly hopeless situation. It's an interesting question we wanted to launch into immediately. I think most of the story speaks for itself, and even if you're not familiar with the first game, you could easily jump into this one and catch up quickly.
Yeah, I do think that feeling of hopelessness and dread, especially at this point in time, 10 years basically after the Empire, before A New Hope, is what the game should strive for.
I agree.
And I think, unfortunately, I don't think his story is going to end here. I think we're probably going to have another Jedi Survivor Fallen Order game in the series, whatever you want to call this, the Jedi series, I guess we should call it.
The Jedi series.
We'll have another one that'll probably wrap up maybe some sort of trilogy and not have the best ending for Cal, would be my guess.
There's a lot of things going on. I mean, he's got a new villain. It's kind of a foil to him and his beliefs and his psychology, and ethically will challenge him. We also had that weird rumor come out, I think it was from John Campea, who said that Cameron Monaghan has already signed a deal for a Disney Plus series.
Curious.
I don't
maybe that's
know
what
where
they do
that's
with
going.
them.
And he kind of, when he was asked about live action, he kind of, jokes it off because who can say?
Yeah, he's not
No
allowed
one
to
can say. So it's like even asking them is like, really?
Well, I think you're trying to get a reaction. You're trying to,
They can't ever say yes or no.
Yeah, you're trying to just see what they say, how they react, what their exact word. You're going to analyze their no, essentially. Because it's going to be a no.
It's going to be a no.
But how do they react to that? Do they have a little shock or a little like, oh, does it really like longing? Like, oh, I'd love to do that. And you're like, well, maybe they're not really doing that behind the scenes. But no, I think he's obviously the perfect character to bring to live action, considering the look is the same. Brilliant, of course, if you're going to make a game or an animated series and you're going to bring in an actor to have a similarity in the look. And I mean, it's almost a dead ringer, right? They are trying to capture his exact look. So no reason why you can't bring him to live action and make the transition. He's been in live action shows, so it's not like it's any kind of acting issue there. I think he's in the Batman television show on Fox, Gotham.
Yes.
Never really gotten into that one, unfortunately. I heard it was pretty good.
I heard he was really good in it.
Yeah. So yeah, I have high hopes for this game and this series and the character. I'm not saying I want him dead by the end of this game or the next game. I'd love to see him more. I'm that guy that remembers what Yoda said and wants that to be somewhat true about there not being a billion Jedi in the galaxy at that time.
But what if there's a billion Jedi in the galaxy?
Well, I'm not saying Yoda knew 100% that Luke was the only one. I think what he means by that is that Luke is the only one that has any real chance of stopping Palpatine and Vader. Not so much that he is like the last Jedi ever.
I can agree with that.
Yeah. But anyway, I think that is going to be all we got for this time. So do take to the comments below and tell us what you think of any and all of today's news. Is Rogue Squadron and Patty Jenkins ever going to happen or not? And tell us what you're thinking about Jedi Fallen Survivor, some may call it. Either way, take to the comments below. Let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.